Today I want to focus on the tack stance, which seems like a lot of people are having issues with, particularly when maybe you slide and you aim down sight. It does the canted little laser look and feel with the tactical stance, and then it goes into a full aim down sight. Especially if you're slide canceling and you don't get the timing well, a lot of times if you're ADSing a little too soon, you'll do a little bit of a slide and then it does that little like that, and a lot of people are just not necessarily used to that. So I thought I'd talk about how to use the tack stance and why I think some of these features a lot of people haven't necessarily been using are actually kind of broken. So initially you think, oh, no big deal, but look at how big the little crosshairs are on this shotgun, right? So here's one use case. So if we line it up with the top there and that little board, if I go to a tack stance, we'll see that how much tighter that does get. So if we're going to be a little bit more accurate, we'll get rid of that. And you can see how much bigger the spread is when you're not doing the tack stance. And then obviously ADS would be much tighter. So it gives you an intermediate one. And this can be particularly useful, especially if you're sliding, you can break in, you can get a little bit tighter spread while moving, which it hasn't really been an option ever before. And it feels a little bit more responsive. Obviously, this is with the shotgun, so that's kind of how that part works. But there are ways you can use this with SMGs, rifles. There's a lot of different things. So let's say I have a higher zoom optic on this. You can see it kind of has the tack stance there. If I slide, it'll do the tack stance as well. And it looks a little bit awkward when you actually go to the full ADS. And it's a little bit more obvious with this if I'm not canceling the slide. If I slide cancel and then it does a little bit of a jerky motion, which I think they'll get dialed in. But how this is going to be helpful is, like, let's say if this was a building I needed to clear, this is like a really slow way to zoom. Even though I'm going to be accurate, there's no visual recoil, your ADS and all that stuff is kind of slow. So you could actually just swap to a tack stance, and then your visibility remains clear, your mobility remains much clearer. And look at how tight the hipfire spread is. Obviously, it is a hipfire spread, so you will lose some there. But I think a lot of it has to do with everyone wanting to slide cancel and not necessarily take advantage of the new movement. Because it is a little bit more deliberate as well, I think a lot of people are just going around spamming slide cancel, slide cancel, slide cancel. And that's kind of what people are doing just for the sake of slide canceling, which is cool. It's not resetting your tack sprint, so there's not really much of a reason to do it unless it's deliberate. And then I can come around the corner and snap. And that's just the base version of the tack stance. A lot of people aren't necessarily using it because you can slide and then fire while doing it, and you can get a little bit of a, firing action that is way more accurate than the hip fire that you would get, where essentially when you slide and hip fire, it's just going to go everywhere, right? Like, it's just going to go everywhere, which is understandable, but this one you get a chance to actually be a little bit accurate. Now, when we actually swap the perk over, we can actually swap the perk over, and then we can kind of see how this would get utilized with other things. So if I go ahead and use this here, we'll go ahead and put on the tactical pads, which will allow us to increase slide distance and allows for full ADS while sliding, which is particularly important, and then increase stance transition speed. I think they need to increase the transition speed by default, but that is a whole other story. So now that that's there, we'll go ahead and blow ourselves up, and then we'll come into it. And you can kind of see how this could get utilized. And this is how it works in Warzone by default. Obviously, these gear pieces aren't transferring over to Warzone, but this is how the Warzone one will work essentially by default. So if you come up slide, you can turn around and you get a lot of mobility still. Even when you're going to take a corner, like, you can actually come out pretty crazy. Same thing with here. If I had a full auto gun, obviously I'm going to be able to beam. If I know somebody's kind of on this edge, I can, instead of doing a bunny hop, which doesn't really work in this game because you lose all lateral movement as soon as you jump. Maybe you get one little hop if maybe you're lucky, but it's not really. It's kind of a dead stop, dead movement there. But when you come through, you can actually get good at that, and the ability to be able to aim down sight is not something we've had in MW2, and you can kind of see how you can get good at that. But on top of that, if you wanted to go ahead and slide, you can actually slide cancel while in this animation, so that if you wanted to stop at a specific point, you could. Obviously, that is also another skill. So like, let's say I only wanted to stop in front of this. Instead of over sliding like that, you could actually be skilled enough to know the button combinations where you could slide, and then you would press the slide cancel, which is just jump in this game, and then you would stop essentially on the doorway, so that you can control where it is. Instead of overshooting the door, you could actually have a little bit of control over that. So see how it goes way too far? You can go and then you stop it with the other button. So I think there's a lot of utility with it. I think a lot of people are just spamming slide cancel, slide cancel. There is a delay to that, so it is kind of annoying coming out of that. But at the end of the day, I think they added this new feature, and a lot of people don't realize how good and how broken it is. I think there are some issues with it where it still needs tuning because it is a brand new feature. But I would say at the end of the day, once it gets finalized, I think it'll be one of those movements that'll just be kind of crazy, where you'll be able to utilize it. The movement will be insane, and it will be very practical to use, especially in the use case where I said that maybe you wanted to work a doorway, stairs, and you don't want to have to like move slowly while you're pre-aiming the stairs. Because look at how this looks compared. So I move up here, and then I do that, right? But if I only have this, I would probably switch to my aim down sight, right? Like, look at how much slower. It's just, you lose a lot of visibility, where this would give you a little bit of, and you can use attachments to actually make this better. And you're not going to beam the person all the way down the hall like this. So you would just switch. But I'm working the stairs. Maybe make less noise, still aim down sight, ready for the gunfight. Oh, the lobby crash. Figures, it's a beta. GG's. Appreciate y'all supporting the content. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.